Hi greedy 3Ders. Now who can forget that scene in Captain America the First Avenger when Hayley Atwell, aka Captain Peggy Carter, makes her first appearance in the movie wearing that red dress. She looks absolutely stunning. So I did a bit of a googly search and I found this STL file of Peggy Carter in said dress, and the good news is it's a free file from my mini factory. There will be a link in the description. So I went ahead and downloaded it and I printed it using some acidity water washable photopolymer resin on my Uniformation GK2, and the combination of the two has worked a miracle, and there she is, blown her up to about 150%. So I want to make a nice size model and everything is printed absolutely perfectly. There it all is, looking amazing. Now I don't routinely paint models in one piece, I like to do them separately and glue them afterwards, but in Peggy's case there are some joins that I need to fill before I paint, otherwise you're going to see them, they're going to stand out when I paint that dress. So I've glued it all together just using a bit of super glue and some activator, and here you can see me using a precision bottle with some of the Ace Additive resin, and I'm using that resin weld technique to fill all the gaps. So just weld it in with some resin, use some UV, and that is what you've got at the end. Now obviously we're going to have to do a little bit of post work prep on that, but you can see there'll be no joins when we get a cracking with the sander. I've given her a sand of around about a 400 grit sandpaper all over really well to get rid of all those lines and those blemishes, and once I've done that I'm taking a brush and I'm getting all the dust off her to make sure that none of it gets transcribed across into the painting process. Now just using a little bit of Citadel white primer, I'm going to give her a blast all across so that the paint will stick to her better. It will give her a nice even coat for the paint to settle on, and then I'm going to take some pure red Army Painter air paint and I'm going to pop it into my airbrush and I'm going to paint it on the dress. Now whichever way you do it there's going to be some masking required. I decided to do the red first and then mask the red and paint the skin. You can do it whichever way you want, but for me this is the way I decided to do it, and I'm just taking that red paint to give her a layer of that red all over, and then I'm hanging her precariously, praying to the resin gods she doesn't smash to the ground before I move on to a darker coat of this Carlsberg Crimson Citadel colour, and I'm just going to hit her a few times from the bottom up just to add a little bit of shadow and a little bit of depth into that red dress. That's all I've done, and she is ready for the next stage, which is sealing using some Rust-Oleum clear, and that will protect her from the next step, which is going to be the masking. Now for the base, I've printed it in some of this Jam J High Speed PLA. It's a nice, easy, simple base. I don't want to make it too complicated. I'm really happy with a nice simple base printed in this Jam J PLA. Now me and my old mate masking tape got even closer during this one. My God, there's some masking on it, but you can see what I've had to do. I've had to mask all the red areas off so that I can get the skin tones on. It didn't take too long really. Using the variable size masking tape, and I'll put a link in the description, it was really easy. Now for the skin I'm going down with a base layer of Nomad Flesh, which is from the Army Painter. You can do the skin tones however you really do them, but for me this Nomad Flesh is a great base colour for skin. It's not going to be an end result, it's far too pinky red, but it's a great base layer to work with. Now something else that worked as a bit of a bonus for me is the red underneath from the overspill from the dress worked really well for some shadowing in the background. But I'm going on to Wildling Flesh now, which is the highest of the paints of the Triad series from the Flesh colours of Army Painter, and I'm going to go across her where the light would naturally hit her on her face, her arms, going down, the light will be coming down, and I'm going to cover her pretty much all across from that one direction with this paint until she's had a coat all over. Once I've given her plenty of time to dry, I'm going to take the masking tape off. A little bit of a mission here, I did put it on really well, and I'm actually really chuffed with the end result. Masking tape does a great job. You could have used, of course, some liquid mask, but the masking tape did the job admirably, and once it was all done and dusted, there she is, and that's just made life a little bit easier. A little bit of touching up required on the dress, but on the whole the majority of that work has been done and it's looking absolutely fabulous. Now again, I'm going to seal the skin with some Rust-Oleum clear before I go onto the wash stage, and this is a Vallejo wash, 25% paint, 75% water, starting off with the red wash, splodging it, splattering it all across her face there, and then once it's on, and as soon as it's on, taking a bit of kitchen roll and dabbing it off. We want to get it all off, no pools, no gatherings, no little clumps of it anyway. If you can't get it off with your kitchen roll, use a little earbud to poke it into the small narrow places to get it off, and once you've done that, more Vallejo, this time yellow, as a yellow wash across her face, exactly the same technique. Splodge it on or wipe it off, get that earbud in there, get it out of the little nooks and the little crannies. We don't want no pools of yellow anywhere, we don't want it to look jaundiced. Beautiful. Next I'm going to take this light flesh colour, and I've mixed this into a wash, and I'm just going to give her a splattering all over exactly the same. I just want to lighten that skin just a tiny bit, exactly the same process, no change, easy peasy, job's a good one. Now to paint the face, I'm going to do it the way I always do it. So a layer of black in the eyes first. It makes her look like she's been a couple of rounds with Steve Rogers, but that's what we're going to get. That's going to add the eyeliner and the shadow effect in, and while that's drying, some pure red. She's got some nice red lips in the movie at this scene, so I'm going to paint that red into her lips. It's a lovely bright red, it's exactly the same colour as the dress, so all will match. I've put a little bit of white in her teeth as well that you can just about see there. Taking some ivory colour. Now the temptation is to paint eyes white, but they are not white. If anything, they're very off-white. So a little bit of ivory colour, a little bit of white mixed with grey, that's the kind of colour you're looking at, and I'm just going to paint the inside, leaving an outside layer of black to give that natural kind of eyeliner effect. Now I'm going to need to tidy it up a little bit more, but you get the gist, you get the idea there. Now the pupils have gone in, or rather the irises, for a base colour, and then I'm going to take some Martian brown to give her irises a little bit of a single colour, which I've done there, and then once I've done that, I'm going to take a lighter brown colour and I'm going to go across the bottom section of it to lighten it up. I've also added a little bit of pink at the bottom of her eyes and a little bit of blue eyeshadow. Once I've done that, a couple of pupils in there, a little bit of white, and her eyes are done. The eyebrows are done with a really narrow brush using a little bit of Martian brown, and I'm going to use exactly the same Martian brown for her hair, starting off with a little tiny brush and then moving on to a great big one and getting it all over. That's the first layer. You can still see a little bit of the red coming through, so once that layer's dry, she's going to get another layer of that. I'm then going to take that pure red and I'm going to tidy up the dress. I'm going to tidy up the straps where the pink from the skin tone has touched them, and all the edges and where the edge of her arms and her legs sit, and I'm going to tidy up all of this red to make it nice and neat and tidy. And that's what it looked like after around about 25 minutes with a tiny brush, just being really careful to cover everything up. And that's the dress now virtually finished. I'm now going to do her shoes. I won't show the whole process, but you can gather what I've done. I've just used the same red on the shoe front and some white for the strapping. I'm going to go over it again, a couple of layers actually, but that's the first layer on, and that's her shoes done. And once I've done that, I painted her gun black, and I used a bit of black on a dry brush to put that little bit of a negligee kind of gartery thing she's got worn on there, and I'm really pleased how that came out. Now for the base, I didn't make it exciting at all. It's a black base with a little bit of dry brush grey on. I don't want to take anything away from Peggy Carter herself. And now for the last stage for her hair, a little bit of that brown sand colour, and I'm just going to dry brush that across her hair. She's had a couple of layers of the Martian brown first to get rid of that red, and now the light colour on there, and she is virtually done and dusted. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you like Peggy Carter. Here she is. Well, I hope you enjoyed the making of Peggy Carter. If you want to go and get yourself a copy of this file, as I said at the start, I'll put a link in the description where it's going to be. It's a free file. Absolutely fantastic file, a great find. So chuffed. If you like what you've seen today, please support the channel. If you want to do that, you can do it in a number of ways. Either subscribe to the channel, won't cost you a penny. There's a little link down there. Just click it right now. Go on, do it. Go on. Yay, thank you. If you want to buy anything from the channel as well, there's a whole link in the channel of things that I use, from printers to paints to brushes to everything I've used, and a little bit will kick back to the channel from an Amazon affiliate link, but it won't cost you guys a penny. You can join the Greedy 3 Patreon. It's free if you want it to be, but if you want to support the channel a little more, there is a paid option there, so go and check that out. Any help you give the channel is greatly appreciated. Well, I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen today, and I'll see you next time real soon on Greedy 3D. Thanks for watching.